Hey, what's up everyone? I'm JayDreamerZ, and today is Plasma Apocalypse Thursday, and I thought I'd do something really unique and interesting today. Um, it's a subject that I'm currently researching. It has everything to do with the Hollow Earth theory, the blue lights or Project Bluebeam, the blue fairy. Lots of things are tied into this, tractor beams, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to talk about this theory of mine, and I mean, it's not mine or anything, but it's a theory I'm working on. I'm actively researching it. Before we do, let me just make sure that everything's good in the chat. I just want to do a quick sound check, thumbs up, or some sort of emoji to let me know. Oh, by the way, also I enabled members to be able, I believe you should be able to post links. Let me know if there's any problems with that. There we go. And I'll slowly be adding moderators as I see people with the green tree and above as well. All right, so hey, welcome everybody. William, Mother Dragon, Rue, Nikos. Wow, how cool. All right, so we're going to jump right into this. I just want to share a lot of pictures to begin with. I'm going to be doing a lot of screen sharing. And aloha, Ricky Martinez. Sweet. All right, cool. All right, so let me just minimize this screen over here. I just want to make sure everything was set up correctly. I think I'm getting quicker at it. I think I'm actually getting quicker. And I'm wearing all blue, because that's the theme today. It's that baby blue, white, blinding light that you see that is connected with people getting sucked up into the sky, tractor beams, people going to heaven. There's actually a really good, there's a few good emojis. I put one of them, I don't remember what triggers it. Maybe it's a subscriber or something, but I put emoji down there for the alerts, and it's from the movie This Is the End. One of them I couldn't put just because it's a little more adult, but it's so funny. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. In the movie This Is the End, there's all these blue tractor beams that shoot down, and it's basically the end of the world. And it's a Seth Rogen movie, so it's supposed to be kind of raunchy, kind of funny or whatever, but a lot of his movies actually contain a lot of deep information as well. Hey, what's up, Rue? I'm glad you like the new emojis. But there's a scene basically where everyone's getting sucked up to heaven. Like it's basically the rapture, and I talk about the rapture as an integral part of the plasma apocalypse theory as well. It just might not be what people think that it is. But in the movie, all these blue beams of light, they're always that baby blue, whitish, blindingly white blue light. And they shoot down or whatever, and they suck people up into the air. Well, these ones suck people up into heaven. And there's this part where what's that guy's name? James? I forgot his name, but one of the guys, he gets sucked up into the sky, or he's starting to get sucked up, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to heaven. And he like flips off his friends, and all of a sudden the light turns off and he falls back down. It's a really funny thing. We got camera 2 working today. So this is what I'm looking at right here. You see that? I don't even know what this is. Some picture I found, as I was doing some research or whatever. But this is the white light that is associated with people and things getting sucked up into the sky or into heaven or into space or abducted by aliens or whatever you want to call it. So the first thing I want to do is let me just share some of the pictures I have here on my computer. We're going to be talking about the North Pole. I believe this light, I don't think it's a whole bunch of lights. It could be. But right now I think that this blue tractor beam basically shoots up from the center of the world, from the North Pole itself. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger here. There we go. So this is an older map. I don't know how many people know this, probably a lot of you guys, but the older maps, they used to include land at the North Pole, right? Typically, it would be separated by these 4 rivers, we'll call them. And in the middle, there was this large mini sea, this large body of water right here. And in the middle of that, they would have this black rock. Right here, it's called Polus Arcticus. Polus Arcticus, which means the pole of the arc, right? Or you could just say North Pole, I guess, but it's the pole of the arc. What arc is that? Well, it's the arc that's above our world. So anyhow, a lot of maps have this, and a lot of YouTubers have done a really good job of explaining how the North Pole used to be accurately represented as a landmass on the older maps. Now, if you go to Google Earth, it's all blurry at the North Pole. It's like they can't decide if it's all water or if it's all ice or what it all is. You know what I mean? The North Pole's changed a lot. Hey, Semyaza's in the chat, and he says the Smoky God. He's talking about this book. There's actually a lot of books. I've gone back. You know, when I started this, when I started along this path, you know, before I got into researching the shape of the Earth and whatnot, I was researching the inside portion of the Earth, or the hollow Earth theory, right? And I came across a lot of this stuff, but I wanted to reincorporate it, or I wanted to incorporate it with new information that I've learned as I go along, right? So that's how I study, that's how I research. I take the information and I go back and I re-research some things from time to time to see how they're interrelated. Instead of saying, well, I learned something different, let me just throw everything else away. You know what I mean? So anyhow, this is the North Pole. This is how it was typically depicted. Now in this map right here, they've got basically a mountain range in this circular landmass that goes all the way around. This landmass right here is sort of cut off. This would be the land of the pygmies, the pygmy people. And this used to be, at the very least, a trusted map, a trusted source that was referenced by a lot of academics in the popular world as well. And this isn't a theory. This isn't a myth or anything. This map and there being a landmass at the North Pole, in the North Pole region, referred to by many different words, typically Hyperborea, land beyond the north, right? This is the landmass that was on the ancient maps, right? And if you look around, you can see, look, here's Greenland right here. And I talk about Greenland, I reference Greenland a lot because typically it's known as being the land where the giants come from, right? And this mountain right here in the middle, I believe, is the source of all of these stories about the gods descending down upon the mountain, and then they came down from that mountain, wherever it was. Every region ended up incorporating their mountains, whatever their tallest mountain may have been, into the stories. Or, you know, it could have been a part of the story as well. But I think a lot of this goes back to an archetype. And I think that this black rock, this magnetic mountain in the middle, this is the archetype for the gods descending upon our world and landing here. So let me skip through a couple more of these pictures. I may come back and reference these as well. Oh, and I also wanted to point this out, okay? My research comes from my path, my experience, things that I study, and also my gut feeling and just opening up my mind to my creative side, which means I also learn a lot from the movies. One movie in particular that was really interesting was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. They gave specific instructions on how to get to the Holy Grail, okay? Now, I don't know how many people know this, but the Holy Grail may not have been an actual cup, an actual artifact that someone drank out of. Oh, there it is right there. Hey, Anthony, thank you so much. He just donated $10. Thanks, Anthony Redner. I appreciate you, man. But look at this. So in the North Pole, he says to go beyond the mountain range to the Canyon of the Crescent Moon, right? Well, this is sort of a crescent right here as well. I was looking into that, right? I think the instructions in Indiana Jones are probably really accurate. There's even a leap of faith, which hopefully I'll remember to talk about the leap of faith, but a lot of people associate an opening with the hollow earth theory. I mean, you have to get inside, and it's not typically just small caves, small caverns, but a large opening, specifically the one at the top of the world, or the North Pole. This is another map here. Let me go ahead and zoom in on this one. A lot of these maps were very, very similar. And I don't know how many people have seen, well, there's a theory out there. It's a cosmological theory, basically. It's called the Electromagnetic universe theory, okay? The Thunderbolts project sort of spearhead this theory, And they have a lot of really good information. I highly recommend watching their YouTube videos and going to their website and reading more about the electromagnetic universe. Speaking of the electromagnetic universe, I want to look at this shape right here, okay? Because I've seen videos where people were doing their own experiments. One guy, he had a huge sheet of clay, right? Sitting on, like, I think acrylic or something like that. A huge sheet of clay to represent the Earth. He took this huge electric generator and sat it right above the clay, turned it on, and sent 70,000 volts of electricity into the clay. Guess what shape it made? That shape right there. That is the exact shape that this electrical arcing made on homemade experiments, right? Which is really interesting to me. So think about this. We've got sort of a volcanic mountain in the middle, a mountain that should, according to various accounts, have an opening in it, which sort of makes it a volcano, right? Perhaps volcano-ish. Maybe not one of the volcanoes that spews out lava, but maybe something else comes out of this volcano. Now, around this volcano, hey, I just got another donation. Linda Curtis donated and said, looks like 4 chambers of the brain. That's a good one. As well it should too, because it's a fractal verse that we live in, right? Everything is a holographic portion of everything else. So that's a good catch. Now check this out. Here's what I see. I see electricity. I see that there are electrical patterns here that are terraforming and shaping the land. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, everyone. So that's what I'm seeing right here. Now, it's really interesting as well that around this outer circle, there's another mountain range. It seems like the land was just pulled up all the way around the edges. This is exactly the potential that electricity has whenever it's aimed at land, especially muddy land, especially salty, muddy land, right? It tends to pull up regions and carve out canyons or valleys in the regions adjacent to those mountains. Hey, Rue also donated $10. Thanks, Rue. She says, thank you, Jay, and everyone. I appreciate what I learned from you all. You're very welcome, Rue. I'm totally jumping in the chat at the end as well, too. I'll try to remember to go back over these just in case people ask questions or something like that. But I'll also stop. Now, this is the emoji you guys just saw, or the, not emoji, this is the GIF you guys just saw. This is in many, many, many movies. I'm going to actually go over an entire list of movies that have this pillar shooting up from the land. Typically, it's a blue pillar. This is one of my favorite ones, though. This is called The Fifth Element, right? With Bruce Willis. Now, it's called The Fifth Element, and some of us understand that as being representative of love. Love is the fifth element, right? Now, love also, or the fifth element also, would be one of the first elements, which is plasma, right? A plasma electromagnetic thing. I don't know what to call it. Light, I guess. But plasma, I call it a thing because plasma can take various forms. It takes many forms, if not every form. Now, in the movie, there were these 4 pillars on each side, right? Representing one of the each elements: water, fire, wind, and earth. But then there was a 5th element that needed to be established in the middle. Once that 5th element, which was love, was established in this middle, this light shoots up from this circle. You see the circle there? Now let's go back to the flat earth, or I don't know what kind of map you want to call it. Let's go back to this map, right? Look at the circle. Let's see the 4 lines going in each direction. Now let's look at the movie The Fifth Element. You see that? That same exact scene, by the way, that same image or symbol is also in many, many, many movies. But the next one that actually comes to my mind was when I was breaking down Total Recall. There was a window that had this exact pattern in it before one of the bad guys was thrown right through the middle of it. Now here's the GIF of the actual light shooting up from her, right? Right where they all meet, right there in the circle in the middle. Now sometimes this entryway into Agartha or into Middle Earth, or into, there's so many names for Hyperborea, the lands beyond, Inner Earth, the Hollow Earth, etc., right? Imagery is used in the media in its various forms. This is just one picture that I found. It's not a quote-unquote real picture, you know, it's something someone made probably, but this represents the hole inside of the earth, right? This also represents the rabbit hole. Okay, now I talked about one of the rabbit holes, which is the one that is in the sky, the one that goes up, the vortex that basically sucks people up and out. There is another rabbit hole, which goes down into our world, inside of the earth itself. Now, I would like to read this for everyone real quick. This is about the Hopi's creation myth. I'm just going to go ahead and read it, even though it's kind of small. The Hopi's creation myth is slightly different than the creation myths of the Aztecs and Navajo. The Hopi believe we are currently living in the fourth world, but, because the other ones believe it's a fifth world, but we are on the threshold of the fifth world. In each of these previous worlds, humanity was destroyed by destructive practices and wars. In the most common version of the story, the spider grandmother. Remember, I've talked about grandmother spider or mother spider, right? That is the plasma fingers, the plasma tentacles, the plasma streams, whatever you want to call them, coming down, the plasma spider reaching down and crawling across the land. The most common version of the story, the grandmother spider, caused a reed. Look at this part. Caused a reed to grow into the sky, and it emerged in the fourth world at the Sipapu. Now, Sipapu is a word that basically means gateway. Think about that. A small tunnel or interdimensional passage. Gateway. As the end of one world draws near, the Sipapu appears to lead the Hopi into the next phase of the world. So, as the end of the world draws near, this Sipapu, the Sipapu appears as well, but the reed, also, the reed that grows up to the Sipapu also appears. I'm skipping around these pictures. Let me just go to the next one here. Basically, look at this. That light shooting up out of the middle of the world is the reed that grandmother spider, aka the plasma, causes to come up into the sky. And I've mentioned this a few times before as well. All right, let me get out of this particular sharing these pictures. I want to start sharing my screen real quick. All right, here we go. That'll do, donkey. Window capture, we will get rid of that other one. There we go. It's very sensitive. All this is very sensitive. Linda Curtis donated again and said, fifth element is love of yourself. I absolutely love that. And I believe you. That is first and foremost. Love for yourself. Know thyself. Understand yourself and appreciate yourself. Look inside, because it's a fractal universe that we live in. Everything outside of you is really internal. It's connected. Everything external is also internal, and vice versa. As above, so below. As within, so without, right? So the more we love ourselves, the more we start to love and understand better the things around us, including our world. Good catch, Linda. All right, let's check out. I want to share the screen real quick because I want to go over some stuff with you guys here. Where is it? Every movie with a giant sky beam. And I know it's a little small on your end, so I'm just going to read this to you because we'll check out the movies in a minute. Whether it's a teleportation beam, a destruction laser, an interdimensional portal, or just a bunch of evil spirits shooting everywhere. Ghostbusters. Hollywood loves to use big ol' skylights shooting into the sky. I mean, it makes sense. They're easy to create and animate while making any scene feel weighty and epic. But at the same time, we've definitely seen enough of these already. I'm counting bifrosts, UFO lasers, and Venn clouds of lizard transforming smoke if they're light enough, vaguely beam-shaped. So this is a website I found. The internet is so awesome sometimes, man. This is a website that I found that has every single movie that this guy could find with a beam of light that shoots up from the center of the world. I'm going to go over some of these right now. Some I can't remember, where it is in the movie, but a lot of them I do remember. So we've got The Amazing Spider-Man. Feel free in the chat to chime in as well. You can add to it. If you know what the beams of light are, feel free to add to it. You can also add links and stuff if you want. So, The Amazing Spider-Man, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Avengers 2012, Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers Infinity War, right? It's going to be in all the Avengers ones, basically, because those are all about the plasma apocalypse. Big Hero 6, I have not seen that one, but it has been nominated. We'll see if it gets picked. Captain America, The First Avenger, Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Chronicles of Riddick, classic movie. Dark City, that's one we went over. I actually pointed out that particular pillar of light that shoots right up out of the middle of their world. The Dark Tower, Stephen King's The Dark Tower. Dylan Dog, Dead of Night, I haven't seen that one. Let's see, Fantastic Four, that's the new one. Like the young class of Fantastic Four or whatever. The Fifth Element, that's one that we already discussed. Fantasy, that's Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. That's an interesting title as well, right? Ghostbusters, hey, there it is. The original Ghostbusters, that was the remake. So there's a pillar of light in the remake and in the original. Gods of Egypt has a pillar of light. Hellboy has a pillar of light. Hocus Pocus has a pillar of light. The Hot Tub Time Machine. Now, that's another one of those raunchy, funny movies. I think Seth Rogen's in that one as well. I can't remember. But that's one of those movies where they give you a lot of information. You know what I mean? And one second. Let's see. I'm trying to add moderators as I go. If I see anyone. Okay, cool. So that's one of those funny movies. The Hot Tub Time Machine, that's what I've talked about, right? They always have to get in the water's bubbling up, and all of a sudden they're transported to some other time, right? Well, that's our world. The oceans around us are our hot tub. One of the worldwide ancient prophecies of the cyclical reset says that the oceans will boil. Right? Now, I don't know if the oceans are actually going to boil due to their heat, due to being hot. It could be a variety of things. It could be gases being released up from within the earth itself, which would make sense to me because I absolutely think that new gases are going to be alchemically created by this plasma process, including an abundance of oxygen and other life-giving gases. On a funny note, I think there might be good reason to believe that nitrous oxide will also poke out its little head in abundance to begin with. And that's why you have so many end-of-the-world scenes where people are laughing hysterically or have this just huge smile on their faces, you know what I mean? Anyway, back to this. Obviously, Independence Day, right? And Independence Day Resurgence. Iron Man has a pillar of light. The Justice League has a pillar of light. The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Maleficent. Man of Steel. That one was actually, I remember the Man of Steel one. And that one was pretty cool. Men in Black Part 3. R.I.P.D., which I have not seen yet, but a lot of you have recommended that one. So it's on my to-watch list. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's when they open up the Ark of the Lord. The Ark is opened up, right? And the beam shoots up and all these spirits go around everywhere. And they say, don't look at it, right? He's like, don't look at the spirits. Star Trek, or not Star Trek. Star Wars, Rogue One. I just want to jump in the chat. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Semyaza says, JayDreamerZ, the newest movie, The Dead Don't Lie. Oh, I haven't even heard of that one. I'll have to check that out. Let's see. What else do we have? Shin Godzilla. I have not seen that one either, but I actually have come across Shin Godzilla in my research. In a lot of my research, believe it or not, all these movies that I have not ever seen, they pop up. And so I watch the GIFs, I read the breakdown, I read the Cliffs Notes. I don't have time to watch every movie, right? But this one has popped up a lot. This one's really interesting because I can't remember, Godzilla turns into like pure rock, I believe. I think they kill him by turning him to rock, or Shin Godzilla, whoever that is. But like I said, I haven't seen it. Skyline, obviously, a classic one. When you see this blue light that comes, I believe it comes up out of the ground. It may come from the sky. I don't know. But my guess right now is that it actually comes up from inside the earth itself, from the hollow earth sun, if you want to call it that, okay? I'm not sure about the hollow earth sun. At least I don't think it's a sun the way that we look at our point of focus called the sun, okay? But we'll talk about that another time. Space Cop, which I have not seen Space Cop. Surprise, surprise. Star Trek, the remake, 2009. Star Trek 5, or Star Trek V, right? With all this red plasma shooting down. The Final Frontier. Suicide Squad in 2016. Super 8, there's the beam of light right there. Superman the movie with Gene Hackman and Keanu, not Reeves, what's his name? Christopher Reeves, there he is. I almost said Christopher Lloyd. There's another page, let's check that out. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie remake. Not the cool one, but the remake, you know. Then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. They put that pillar of light in that one too. This is the End. That's the Seth Rogen movie I was referring to earlier. Thor. Well, of course, Thor's going to have one. I mean, they have the Rainbow Bridge. They have Asgard. They have a lot of elements of ancient beliefs that are more accurate than academia's current teachings. Excuse me. Thor, The Dark World. Thor Ragnarok. Transformers has a beam of light. Transformers, Dark Side of the Moon. Tron, there it is right there. They literally show you the beam of light, and they show you our world, which is Captain America shaped, or ring shaped, or Atlantis shaped, however you'd like to call it. Another one in Tron Legacy. Warcraft, that's the World of Warcraft movie. Sometimes I'll have a little clip of that. That's really interesting. In my Be Right Back screen, I put a little clip of that because when the I don't know what they're called. They're orcs or trolls or ogres or something like that. They're probably orcs. When the orcs leave their world, they have to travel through this giant mirror, go through this liquidy, quote-unquote, space-looking thing, and then they come up out of a lake in our world, or in a different world, I should say. There's another one called The World's End. Are we seeing a pattern here? Right? Like a giant, what does a giant baby blue light shooting up out of the ground have to do with the world ending? Well, obviously Hollywood thinks it's got something to do with it. Wreck-It Ralph, X-Men, Apocalypse, X-Men, Days of Future Past. So those were just a few of the movies. I'm going to bring up the chat real quick so I can check on everybody. J-Star P says, I love Suicide Squad. I like a lot of these movies. All right, so that's one thing I wanted to share with everyone, and that's a lot of different movies from Hollywood that seems to have an inside tip on some esoteric secrets of reality. Wouldn't you say so? Like I said, the old ways are returning to our world. The pendulum is going to hit the very bottom point, and then it's going to start swinging seemingly backwards in time as it goes right back up and takes us back into a state of paradise or a garden state, right? I think there's even a movie called Garden State, right? Speaking of gardens, the ancient Phoenician word for garden is gan, G-A-N. Now, vowels are not super important when it comes to the further back in time you go. When you're reading stuff, the consonants are more important. So let me show you something. Let's go over to camera 2. Camera 2. Cam 2. I've named it Cam 2. The original Cam is just Cam. Then we got Cam 2. All right. Anyhow, so here's a little depiction of our world. But I'll get to this in a second. Right now I want to draw a name up here. Well, I'm going to draw a word first. Gan. Okay? Gan means garden. I believe. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've studied ancient Hebrew and stuff, but I believe Gan is garden. Gan Eden. Garden of Eden, right? Now, if we put another prefix in front of this, you see this is just a word right here. That's all. These are all words. And your name is a word as well. They're all descriptors. Now, let's put another thing here. Now, remember, Gan means garden, right? So let me write that out. We'll put a happy tree right there. I'm totally kidding. Sorry, Bob Ross. All right. So, more. Remember, vowels don't really matter that much when you go back into the ancient language. More, let me see if anyone in the chat can guess what this means. Nobody's guessed it yet. Well, all right. I'll just tell you what it means. This means sea. Usually, it is written like this. Also, like this. You see that? Hey, wait a minute. Let me go back to the live scene. We've got a new member. Let me go ahead and welcome. Let's all welcome Sherry V CBD. I like how it rhymes. I'm going to blow up the chat with some quick happy emojis. Welcome. Some good vibe emojis. And then we'll just keep on going, and we'll all chat with Sherry V. Well, you guys can. I'm going to chat with you all towards the end. Let me go back to camera 2. Welcome, Sherry V. And thanks for your support. Okay, so look at this word, right? The sea or the garden of the sea, right? Mar and myrrh, just like this ancient depiction, just like a mermaid, a standing fish, or a standing scaly person, etc., right? Mermaid means a woman. A maid is a woman from the ocean. Mar, more. They're all the same. That's why I told you that vowels really don't matter. Okay, when you go back far enough, the vowels don't matter that much. And that is also one of the reasons, I believe, why you see all these people who are starting to really stretch words and play with words, and they're seeing how words are interrelated, right? They're learning the spells. It's a spell craft. It's crafting out spelling. That's what it is. You live in Harry Potter world right now. Everything is magical, okay? They have just casted a particularly strong veil called forgetfulness over us in order so that we don't see it. They've blinded the world from our reality, which is magical, which is pretty cool. All right, back to camera 2. There's some other things I want to show you guys. So, for example, when you see these famous actors and actresses, a lot of times they're chosen because of their name. Like, for example, Morgan Freeman, right? Now, does this make a little bit more sense, right? Specifically, you look at all the movies that this guy is engaged in, and that actually starts to build context for a message that's being given to us. Am I being a little paranoid? No, I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm being fractal in my thought patterns. I'm being circular instead of linear. You see what I'm saying, right? Is there some conspiracy where all the actors, they're specifically chosen and they all know about it? No, I don't know. Maybe not. But what I do know is that life hands me breadcrumbs from time to time because it's me giving myself a clue. Essentially, it's my higher self saying, hey, check this out. There are reasons for everything. Everything has meaning. Everything has a purpose. Let's go back to camera 2. Boom, camera 2. Yeah, so Morgan. More means sea. Right? Or ocean. Gan is garden. So ocean garden, free man. Okay, well, that might not make sense right now, but it will in just a bit, okay? Remember that picture that I showed you guys where in the middle at the North Pole, there was that central sea, right? That central area. But then there was also that land as well, right? That land is said to be a lush and beautiful land, which is actually like a huge forest, okay? Lots of ancient cultures talk about the lands beyond the north and how they're not cold whatsoever. They're not cold. They're actually lush. They're tropical. I don't know if they're tropical, but they're foresty at the very least. Interestingly enough, the Norse have a legend of the survivors of Ragnarok, right? In the story of Ragnarok, there is a male and a female who both make it through Ragnarok, which is basically the end of the world. It's the apocalypse, right? A male and a female, Leif and Leifbrazir. They both go up to It depends on how you want to translate the Poetic Edda and the other Norse writings. But basically, it's either translated as the male and female go to the lands beyond the north and they hide in a tree, or they hide in a forest, however it's interpreted, right? So let's take a look at this picture real quick. Back to camera 2. All right, let's get rid of Morgan Freeman real quick. Boom, boom. Oh, and I'll tell you why the word MR is associated with the ocean, okay? Let me just show you this real quick. MR. Remember, the vowels don't really count, right? Now, if you write MR in picture form, going back a long time ago, the pictures for this are water, basically. Oh, Matthias Muerte donated $50? No way. Let me go back. I didn't catch my little super chat deal. It'll say in the chat, I'm sure. But thank you for your donation. All right, let me go back to camera 2 real quick. All right, thank you very much, Matthias. All right, so it's water. Sometimes it's actually like this. It just depends on how they drew it, okay? But it's that's why the letter M looks like waves on the ocean, because that's exactly what it represents. That's exactly the picture form for the letter M, right? Sometimes it's like that, basically, okay? So M represents the character of water, always. M always represents water. R represents a person's head or face. Specifically, the top of the body, okay? So actually, let me go ahead. It was depicted by a head, a human head, but what it conveyed was top. Okay? So basically what you have is you have a picture form of water on top, which means to them, a long time ago, ocean, or sometimes lakes or seas or whatever, right? Also, remember I broke down Merlin, right? Ocean. All right, enough. I think that's enough of that stuff. All right, let me get rid of this picture here. All right, so here's a little tiny, super basic diagram. This is not what the world looks like, okay? But this is like if a 2-year-old were to draw a picture of the world, this is what they would draw a picture of, okay? So I can draw a diagram trying to actually get more into like the dimensions and what the world looks like and all that. I have done that. I've spent many hours actually trying to piece it together. But for the sake of simplicity, here's a little side view of, for all intents and purposes, a snow globe world, okay? So let me just bust out camera 2 again. And I want to show you what happens here, okay? So imagine the plasma is coming down. I don't know if red will work. Let me see if red works. Hold on. Nope, red sure does not work. How about purple? Let's try purple. It's okay. All right, anyway. Plasma coming down. Now, the plasma hits the dome, okay, because it's physical. Plasma cannot pass through other physical objects. However, the light from the plasma can. We've talked about that before, right? So the plasma's coming down, which means that the energy is coming downward. See that? All the energy is going down, it's coming down, and it's going around. It's going all the way down right now. And underneath our world, there's a whole bunch of stuff down underneath our world. So really, I shouldn't draw this like this. If there is in fact an entrance there, it should be more accurately drawn like this. You see that with the little entryway. Now, what do you think happens, right? If this plasma, if this electromagnetic energy goes down and around our world, wouldn't it make sense that it also goes underneath our world? It would make sense to me. And if that energy or electromagnetics reverses, let's call it the reversal of the poles, okay? The polarity reversal. When it reverses, we would fully expect that energy to go up from the middle, right? Shooting upwards, boom, from the middle. Oh, we got another new member. Hey, let me jump back over here and welcome everybody. Hey, I appreciate all the support. You guys are great joining as the members. The Good Vibe Tribe is getting bigger and stronger, man. I love it. Oh, it's so exciting. Our new member is Dustin. Hey, what's up, Dustin? Welcome. Dustin Arrow, actually. That's a cool name. All right, I'm totally jumping in the chat at the end just to say hello to everybody and all of that good stuff. Let's go back to camera 2. I just wanted to, actually, before I go back to camera 2, remember that story I read about the Hopi? How they said grandmother spider caused a reed to grow up out of the ground and emerge at the Sipapu, aka the gateway, the doorway, right? So here we have the reed that grows up out of the ground. This shoots up, it hits the dome, because if this is energy, if this is plasma specifically, remember, it can't just hit the dome and pass through it. It would have to literally break the dome, right? Well, actually, before it broke the dome, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before this broke the dome, oh man, it's very fragile. I have to hold on to it as I draw. All right, so before it breaks the dome, what would we expect it to do? It's physical meeting physical. It's also very fluid, so we would expect it to branch out or to spread out. Just like that. Now, this image right here, this is the energy shooting up from the inner earth, from the middle of the world. Life-giving spirits, plasma, whatever you want to call it, right? Energy, basically. It hits the dome up here, and then it spreads out, creating a T. Well, this gets really interesting because now we're starting to see some religious symbolism, right? That would be Thor's hammer, right? It's also depicted as the world tree. Now, if I'm correct in my estimate that somewhere up in our central atmosphere, there's a flip point for what is known and commonly called gravity, okay? Let's say it's right here. Okay, so after that midway point, let's just say that point right there represents 0G. Okay. Once you get beyond that, the electromagnetics reverse and they flip upwards towards the ceiling of the sky, or the ceiling of the snow globe world that we're drawing out here, right? So above this line, gravity inverts. It goes that way. All across, it goes basically around the wall itself. So if that's true, let's just assume, and we're sort of speculating and playing with ideas right now, but the plasma may also branch out. And create the branches for the world tree, so to speak, right? Now, eventually, this is going to poke through if it's made of ice, like I believe that it is, okay? It's obviously just going to melt it. It may just blast a hole in it. I don't know. I'm still working out details of how this could possibly happen, but nevertheless, it shoots up into the sky or into space, or what we call space, right? I don't think we have the faintest concept of what space really is, but this light will shoot. It'll break the barrier. Once the electromagnetics turn off, it'll break this barrier right here, and it'll continue on. Well, now we have a crucifix, or a cross, or if the middle branches are correct, a double cross. Let me go back to the live scene real quick. Okay, I'm no Bob Ross, but I appreciate that you guys enjoy watching my little diagrams that I make. I spend a lot of time trying to figure these things out. Oh, the T virus. Hey, Samyaza is in the chat. That's actually a really good point. So the T virus that is in those movies, that's where that comes from, because there are other worldly creatures that are allowed to now enter into our world, just like in all those movies that we listed earlier, right? Usually there's a portal of some sort and beings can leave, just like in This Is the End, where Seth Rogen and all his homies are trying to get up into heaven or whatever. Beings can leave this realm, or beings can enter into this realm, right? And that means that they also bring whatever is out there in space with them, like their viruses. This is the T virus from the Phantazoids, all right? Phantazoids are a little different topic, but very good catch. That is the T virus. That's various shapes, okay? Now, you got to remember, I'm going to go back here one more time. When we look at this depiction right here, this is me drawing it still. It's not moving in my drawing. But you have to remember, this is all spiraling around. Let me just draw a little spiral here. Hold on. This is all spiraling, okay? So this is all going to be moving around. If you take that same T and you start to spin it, guess what shape that now gives you? The swastika, the broken cross, a labyrinth up in the sky. It gives you all of these ancient shapes that ancient cavemen or men who were living in caves in order to survive the plasma apocalypse, they chiseled this out everywhere. They drew the spirals. They drew it on the rock because it was that important, right? And this became religious imagery as time went on. People, I don't want to beat a dead horse. You understand what I'm saying about that. Semyaza says, they all float down here. That's right. Actually, I'm going to go see that movie for my birthday. My birthday is coming up just around the corner. So Jenny's going to take me on a date to go watch It Part 2. I'm really excited about that. But anyhow, yes, that was a depiction of this baby blue light that shoots up from the middle of the world. Now, where's it coming from? Right? Well, let's take a look at some stuff. Oh, here's one of the Man of Steel ones. I was trying to find some cool gifs, but I kind of ran out of time at the last second. Check this one out. Can you see this? Hold on. Let me unlock this real quick. All right, check this out. I don't know if you can see it that great, but they've got the blue lights from a lot of these movies. Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Captain America, a lot of superhero movies, right? Because the superheroes are basically aliens or people who have been imbued with superpowers due to the plasma event itself. Let's see. This is not where I want it to be, though. Let's see. Is Mount Meru hollow? That's something I was looking at earlier here. Hyperborea. This is the map I was showing you guys. Here are these maps as well. Let's look at Hollow Earth map. I want to type that in real quick. So I'm just searching and researching live with you all right now. See if I can do this appropriately. Otherwise, I'll just talk. Okay, so there's a lot of depictions in ancient times. This was commonly accepted, okay, by everyone. Not because the inhabitants of our world were stupid hundreds of years ago, okay? We do not give ourselves that much credit. So I'm not a big fan. Whatever is taught in academics today is almost undoubtedly the reverse of the truth, okay? So if they teach me that the further back in time you go, the less educated man was, I'm going to disagree with that one, okay? And the less educated men mapped out the world, traversed all of these ancient places. Now, back then they had places on maps. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see it here. Back then they had places on maps that are not on our modern day maps, right? Many mythic islands, they'll say, like, oh, it's mythic continent that ancient man ascribed due to their stories. So they just decided to add it to their professional map that they just drew out, right? They just guessed at some stuff. They just put it in there. I don't know. I'm not saying it's false. I'm saying it doesn't seem likely to me, Like if I was to spend that much time to go over all the details of trying to put a map out there for people to use, that it's going to be used by people. I'm not trying to get people lost or stranded or dead by creating false lands all over the place, right? I'm going to make sure I draw my maps as accurately as I possibly can, right? Okay, so here's an image of the hole at the top of the North Pole, right? I'm not sure if there actually are any real images of the hole at the North Pole. I've seen some really good videos on YouTube that people have done. And some people think that those are, this one's a good one, we'll stop right there. People think that those YouTube videos are actual genuine footage from NASA. What did I just do? Where'd it go? I was trying to make it bigger. It must have moved. Where is it? Yeah, I think I made it bigger and now it's like, oh, there it is. It's on that side now. Well, let's fix that. Well, that's the one I want, so let's click on it. There we go. Okay, now let's scooch this over a bit. There we go. Okay, so for all intents and purposes, let's check out this one. Now remember, this drawing is just like my drawing. Remember my drawing of the snow globe world? So when these people were trying to draw and convey ideas about the world they lived in, it doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly pixel for pixel how they thought it actually looked. No, they're concept drawings. They're ideas. This is two-dimensional. I mean, we have to think beyond 2 dimensions when we look at these concept drawings. I think so. But anyhow, typically they have an entrance over here at the North Pole. They also have an entrance over here at the quote-unquote South Pole, or aka Antarctica, right? I'm focusing mostly on the North Pole one right now because I have a theory about Antarctica, okay? I think that it's possible that the covering around our world does not just line up perfectly and just squish up against the edges. I have an idea that maybe it actually extends a little bit around it so that people can actually go and look past it or around it, if that makes sense, okay? I'm not sure exactly. I'm still trying to work out the details and stuff. But nonetheless, people have talked about going inside of the Earth via the North Pole. Most notably, and I've talked about this a few times, Admiral Byrd, right? An admiral, like a government official, talked about how he went inside of the Earth and he was met by these Aryan people, or, I mean, he thought they were Germans because they had the swastika. Well, they probably used their symbolism and imagery just like we do, right? That's just the broken plasma up in the sky. It's the swirling, moving plasma up in the world above us. All right, let's see here. What else was I going to show you guys? I was going to show you guys something else here. I don't remember. Oh, I'll probably think of it. All right, let me get rid of all these crazy pictures real quick. I'm just going to take them down for just a second. There we go. Okay, cool. Now I'm in the chat, and I would like to just chat with all of you. If you have ideas about the hollow earth, the inner earth, the world tree, the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is the shape that they saw in the sky. It's the plasma in how it was moving about in the sky, getting skinnier in the middle and then branching out as it goes up. A really good video to watch on this is Symbols of an Alien Sky that I believe was done by the Thunderbolts Project. Check that out so you can get a concept, an idea of this light that was shooting up from the middle of our world so that everybody could see it. As a matter of fact, that's a biblical prophecy that the sign of the Son of Man, aka Jesus, well, what's Jesus' sign? The cross, right? Well, I just showed you the cross is going to show up so that the whole world can see it. And if the whole world looks kind of like a snow globe, hey, we got a new member again, AM1. Is that how you say that, or is it Ami? Ami means friend, so I like that. AM1, let me give you a quick hello in the chat. Aloha, AM1, welcome. Wow, it's good to see so many people. So that's what it's describing. When you look at this light is going to shoot up from the middle of our world, and it's going to appear to destroy those evil plasma tentacles. That's why this light is associated with taking people to heaven and being representative of the good guys, or a positive energy, a good vibration, right? Shoots right up from the middle of our world. Just like Godzilla's atomic breath. Godzilla lives in the hollow earth, according to the movies and everything like that. In the last Godzilla movie, where he fights all of the other Titan class Phanazoids, basically. It shows him using his atomic breath. But almost always, he stops, looks straight up into the sky, right? He can just shoot it wherever, but he is shooting straight up in the sky, that baby blue-white beam, and it goes up. He uses that baby blue-white beam in order to destroy, I forgot his name, the dragon. What's the dragon's name? I totally forgot. King Ghidorah. Right? King Ghidorah is the three-headed dragon. When you see three-headed, multi-headed, long necks, all these different types of dragons and serpents and krakens and Cthulhus and octopi and all this stuff, it's just a personified version of the plasma that's coming down into our world. Godzilla is that one baby blue beam of light shooting up, fighting the multi-headed dragon that comes down into this world. Eventually does away with it, gets rid of it, right? That's the sign that the poles or the light or the energy has reversed. It's no longer coming down at us. It's now shooting upward from around us, from everywhere around us. And that's why the Bible talks about, in other documents too, that after the apocalypse, the world is going to have no need for a sun or for a focal point in our sky in order to sort of be a nightlight in this dark city that we live in, right? This dark world. It's the black world. This is the dark world. This is a world of night, constant darkness, basically. And so it's a good thing we have that focal point to occasionally allow us to see some places, right? Well, I don't know. I'm just saying. But when the light reverses and it goes up, that light is not being shined in your face. I wish I had, you know what? Let's take a quick break. I'm going to grab my flashlight in order to prove a point to everyone. I'll be right back. All right, thanks for bearing with me. So, in the world that we live in right now, right? In the world we live in right now, the sun is a point of focus, right? All that, let's just recap real quick. Camera 2? Let's recap, camera 2. All right, so I'm going to erase all this. Let me just show you the sun diagram real quick, real simply put, right? Let's figure out where I am here. All right, snow globe world, got it, check, boom. Ice dome, check, boom. Now, I'm going to use the same color just to, save on time. But the plasma comes down, hits the dome. Remember, plasma, because it is physical, is not going to pass through another physical object that's solid, right? But the light from the plasma, right? The light does pass through, and because the glass or the ice is curved, it's actually going to cause the light to bend. It's going to cause it to bend inward. That's the sun. That's a point of focus. What happens after that point of focus is the light continues forward in all directions. So it's like a little spotlight on our world, basically. So that's just a small recap. Now, let's take a look. The light is in our face right now. Let's say this flashlight is the sunlight, and it's in our face, coming down at us, right? Now, if I turn this on, not only does my green screen go away, but it's hard to see what's behind it, right? And this isn't even like a really powerful one. I don't know how good that is to shoot that right at my camera, but you understand what I'm saying, right? If someone was to point a big old bright light in your face, it's especially cops, right? It's hard to see what's behind it. And if you can see behind it, not very far, right? But you all, when I turn this flashlight around and the light's traveling the other way, it actually lights me up perfectly fine. You could see everything. It actually makes my green screen look better. But you could, all of a sudden, everything is illuminated. The light is going in the other direction. That's why, biblically speaking, the Bible, or at least John, the prophet John, he talks about how in the end, he looked and beheld, and there was no more sea or ocean, number one, and there was no need for the sun anymore because the light was everywhere. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it says. All right, let me jump back into the chat real quick. I think I may have missed some things. If you would like to leave a comment for me, just type in @JayDreamerZ. That way it highlights on my side. That's all I ask. All right, let's see here. I got to pop the chat out. There's a whole bunch of comments. One sec. All right, let me pop out the chat. One moment. I think I'm getting a little better at this all this technical stuff, right? Well, I don't know. I'm improving. How do you pop out the chat? There we go. All right, where was I? I'm just popping out the chat here. All right, the chat is popped out. Now I'm going to stretch it so I can see everybody's comments. There we go. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go back up to when AM1 became the newest member. And then I'm going to read all those ones that say @JayDreamerZ and down. Ted Ozzy's in the chat. Hey, what's up, Ted Ozzy? He says, JayDreamerZ, which poles possess a portal? Well, I believe the North Pole possesses a portal. It goes down into the inner Earth. I can actually draw a diagram-ish of what it kind of looks like, right? Because we have a lot of clues given to us. So that would be the North Pole, which possess a hole to the inner Earth, the North Pole once again. Now, around the edges, there may be entryways as well. I don't know how many, but I do know that the North Pole, see, around the edges, what happens is if the light is going up, it's going to hit that dome like glass and it's going to light it up red. We'll have a red sky, right? I don't know how many people have seen like little trinkets that they sell when they'll have like some sort of a box or something that basically has batteries and a light on the top with different colors of lights. And then they put some sort of crystalline object on top of it and they turn on the lights, and the crystalline object, instead of being crystal looking, it's multicolored. Whatever the color of the light was, all that crystal is now. Usually they'll have it change colors and stuff like that. That's what our world is going to do, basically. So all that light that shoots up from the sides, it's going to turn the sky that color, which is probably a reddish color. Let's see here. So I hope that it helps to answer your question. Semyaza's in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, do you feel there is still a giant tree at the North Pole? If so, do you feel it leads to other realms and realities? That's the part I forgot to get to. Okay, so no, I'm going to try to answer simply. I'm going to simply put, no, I don't think there is a tree, a physical tree, that goes up in and touches the sky, basically, okay? I used to think that, but now I'm starting to look a little beyond that. I'm not discounting the fact that there were ancient giant trees in our world. There was ancient giant everything in our world, which is what our world is going to go back to. Remember I said there's going to be an influx of plasma that will alchemically create new, I don't want to say elements, new gases, especially oxygen and life-giving gases, right? I believe that those chemicals that are created, that those gases are going to add to people growing bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So let's say you survive the plasma apocalypse and you go into this new world. Well, you're going to find yourself with all sorts of really awesome brand new abilities. Some people, I'm speaking in general, right? But the other thing is when you have children, they're going to be born into this world that has an influx of all of this life-giving properties. And it's going to help them to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, as well as the world being depressurized. Right now, we're being crushed to death. We're shrinking as time goes on. We're not getting bigger and bigger as they try to tell you and convince you. You know, they show you like some ancient skeleton of some random person, and they're like, look, they were only 2.5 feet tall. Mankind's getting bigger and bigger. No, we're not. We're getting smaller and smaller, especially the more you guys put, the more we, I should say, the more we put all these chemicals into our body and start poisoning ourselves. We're definitely getting smaller and smaller. But anyhow, yeah, and this is going to give rise to giants and titans once again, as we'll see, including the animal life and the plant life. Let's see here. But so yeah, I'm not discounting ancient giant trees, but there is a world tree. That's the one. That's the different one. That's why you see, remember I did a video called Tree Portal Theory? And I was like, this is really weird. Why are there so many instances of people getting into a tree and going into other worlds? Well, that's because if we go back to camera 2 and I erase this part, right? Now, we've got the land, we've got the sky, right? And this is the marriage ceremony, okay? This is the wedding night, basically, okay? You've got, you've got the whole opening up in the sky, and then you've got the light shooting through it. So that's conception. That's the wedding night, basically. Anyway, this right here is the world tree. Which takes people to other realms, to other lands, right? I believe that it is possible to go there. This is the part that I'm still currently researching, okay? By the way, if you're watching this video in the future, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Add it to your own study. Add it to your own research, okay? These are just ideas that I'm throwing at you. We're brainstorming right now is what we're doing. But that's the world tree that shoots up from the middle. That's the pillar of light. That's Jacob's ladder. That's Jack's beanstalk, right? That's so many different. Remember the Hopi said that it goes to the Sipapu, which is the place of the crossing. If I go back there real quick, this right here is the Sipapu. That is the entrance. That is also Nibiru. That's the planet of the crossing. It's not a planet at all. It's an opening in the sky that's circular. So, of course, people are going to think it's a planet because they look up and see anything that's a circle and they think it's a planet or spherical. But anyway, this is just an opening up here. This is the Sipapu. That's the gateway into what people commonly refer to as space. That is the gateway to other worlds. That is one of the windows or portals in the heavens that the book of Enoch talks about and accurately describes. All right, let me move on to the next comment here. Where was I? There we go. AM1, hey, what's up? He says, what up, JayDreamerZ? Great content. Yeah, just initials. AM number 1. AM1. I like that. Cool. He also says, can you do or speculate on what this vault contraption is resting on? Not that it has to conform to a gravity concept. I'm not sure what you're asking. I would highly recommend you to retype the comment. I'm not sure what you're asking there. Speculate on what this vault contraption is resting. Are you talking about the world? Like, what does the world rest on? Remind me, and I'll draw you a diagram, basically. Let's see here. Rue, I am Groot. Hey, it says, address questions to... oh, yeah, she's just reminding everyone to type in at JayDreamerZ. Thank you, Rue. Semyaza says, JayDreamerZ has come a long way. Look at this pause show. Hey, thanks. I spend a lot of time on this stuff, so I really appreciate it when you guys say things like that. William Marquez, what's up, William? Says JayDreamerZ. Maybe the blue light / energy is what recreates the dome when it hits the plasma. Very good. So I gotta stop right there. Let me go back to camera 2. I'm sorry if I missed your comments. I'm gonna try to get as many as I can. All right, so back to camera 2. Here's what's going on. I'm only showing you a very simplified version of one possibility. Where did I put that? Oh, here it is. All right, so let's go back here, right? All right, let's start all over. We've got the land. I'll just draw it all. All right, check this out. We've got the land. Snow globe world. Boom. Right? Boom. Boom. We've got the dome. Now, hold on. I need to make an important point. Remember we were reading about the Hopi, and the Hopi believe we're in the 4th world entering into the 5th. Other Native Americans or natives believe that we are in the 5th world going into the 6th, right? It depends on who you talk to. They believe that we're not in the 1st world. That's the important thing to know. Now, this picture that I'm drawing right here and have been drawing, where's camera 2? This is a picture of the first world, world number 1. How do I know? Because every time the apocalypse comes, this part of the world, the ground, grows, extends, which means when the force field comes back on, the plasma will hit that force field. It will conform to its shape, which is a dome shape. Its byproduct is water. That water will freeze, and it will create another dome. See that? Now we have world number 2, right? And this one still has a hole in the top. All right. So I hope that made sense. I kind of did that quickly. If you have a question about it, just let me know. Okay, so every time, here's how it goes, right? Let's say, I don't know, let me try to start from the very, very beginning, the first world ever. Okay, I have to really use my imagination in order to do that, okay? Which is good. So the first world ever, no dome at all, or whatever. The ground was made, okay? So you have to have ground in order to have this electromagnetic dome or shield, right? Like the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is the shield. This is the umbrella of our world, right? It's invisible to begin with. It only creates a physical one when the plasma interacts with it, creates water, and that water freezes, giving us a physical dome, right? So basically, every time the plasma apocalypse happens, that is our world stretching out and growing. Every time it does that, right, the electromagnetics turn off. The plasma comes in. When the light reverses or the energy reverses, the blue light shoots back up, right? And eventually, the electromagnetic shield will turn back on. Once that shield turns back on, the electromagnetic force field, or shield, whatever you want to call it, it repels plasma, okay? Which means all that blue energy that's shooting up into it, let me draw you a picture. All of that, okay, let's get rid of this one. Now, let's say that we have the plasma shooting up and the electromagnetic force field goes back up. Okay, so force field goes back up. Okay, plasma's going up, goes through, but the force field comes on. Right now, it's just an invisible barrier. Right now, we only have one physical dome. But when the force field comes back on, the plasma is repelled by it, which means the plasma will start to fill it up. Okay? And it will fill it up, you probably guessed it already, with water, right? So there's water in between those domes or whatever. Now, I would assume occasionally that water, the water that's not frozen or whatnot, it falls back down and gives us our oceans, at least part of that. That's part of it. And then, of course, when you go into the third world, the dome, that other dome will break again. And each successive dome will have a hole in it. As the world grows and stretches out, it will have another hole in it. And you got multiple domes, which is probably why when you look at a rainbow, you have double rainbows or triple rainbows, right? I've never seen a rainbow with like 10 rainbows or anything like that. So, but it gives you an idea. It gives you an idea, which also, if you work it out correctly, helps to explain the phases of the moon as well, because the moon's just an image. All right. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to draw one more thing. Just one more thing, because I have a concept in here and I need to get it out before I forget about it. So I'm going to go back to camera 2. Again. We're going to draw one more world. I'm just going to draw a really basic shape of the middle here. So here's the land. And where's the other part? Here's the land. Okay. Now let's just say that this is the North Pole. Remember, this is a 2-dimensional drawing. In the middle here, it would go all the way around, right? It would be like a rabbit hole, basically. Okay? So, let's say a person gets here. Person gets here. And they both know that they can exit this world either going into this one, into the inner earth, or somehow, possibly, riding or climbing that plasmic tree, that energy highway, upwards. Right? Now, at this point in time, the very obvious thing that comes to my mind is it now becomes the jump program. It now becomes a leap of faith, right? Do you want to go down or do you want to go up? Up or down, right? What movie is that from? Anyhow, that's absolutely a crucial part. And all these movies, everything is telling you, get to the center of the maze, right? Get to the center of the maze. For whatever reason, that's the message that I think a lot of us have been told. Get to the center of the maze. When you get to the center, it's possible to go up, depending on what time it is, or down, depending on what time it is. And when I say time, I mean epic, like era, what eon it is, right? Because sometimes there's going to be plasma there, and sometimes there won't be, and it'll be empty, basically. So that is also, like when they show you religious stuff where, the good people, they go up. Like, let's say this guy's a good guy, and this guy's a bad guy, right? So he'll jump up and he'll go up, and he'll jump in, he'll go down, basically, right? This is the elevator between worlds. There's all kinds of ways that this has been described in many different forms. All right, let me jump back into the chat. I just wanted to share that while I had it in my mind. It's just a little tidbit. Okay, I'm going to try to go through these a little quicker. I'm sorry. J-Star Peace says, JayDreamerZ, did you get the chance to listen to that song that reminds me of you called This Is Music That Heals Your Soul? No, I haven't. Not yet. Cloven E donated and says, Jay, man, I couldn't read that. Let's go by too fast. All right, I'm gonna get to all the super chats in just a minute because I could bring them back up. I'm gonna read the rest of these comments here. So no, J-Star, I didn't get to listen to that song yet. But when I rewatch the chat on this video, I'll be reminded and I'll check it out. A lot of people want me to check out, the latest thing that someone told me to check out was Tool's new album. So I was reading the lyrics of Tool's new album and I was looking into that one. AM1 says, JayDreamerZ, what do you think this vault contraption is resting on? Okay, so if you're talking about the ground, it's resting on pillars, right? So the ground, let me go back to camera 2 real quick. I hope you guys don't mind switching back and forth here. All right, let's get rid of the angel and the devil here. Now, I'm just going to draw a real quick diagram, very simply put, right? Well, it's pretty much level-ish at the top. There's some mountains and stuff. Then it goes down. Boom. Mountains, whatever, and then it goes down. Boom, right there in the middle. Now, this part goes into the earth. Where there are these pillars, right? These pillars all connect. I don't know if you can see that. Now this central part just keeps on going. Okay? And that's where the light is coming from, okay? Because if you were to connect the bottom, I got to lift this up here. Sorry. I don't have enough room. All right. Now this bottom part, it's going to continue on. So anyway, I don't want to take too much time trying to recreate things I've already drawn here. But basically the bottom of it, when we imagine the bottom of the earth, we assume it has to be connected. I mean, we assume it has to be disconnected because we're in space, right? And in space, everything's all disconnected and there's just space everywhere, right? I don't know if that's the reality. I think that the bottom is like a stem on a flower and that stem connects to other things, right? It's all interconnected. Everything is interconnected, right? Or like the synapse of a brain. That's also a really good fractal depiction of the world that we live in, right? The bottom of a synapse, it doesn't really have a bottom. It just goes on. It continues and touches other neurons and stuff like that. It's all interconnected, and it has to be in order to transfer information, which is what it's all about. It's the transfer of information. The plasma apocalypse is a data harvest, basically. All right, let me jump back in the chat. All right, I'm going to try to catch up here. Oh, Cloven E, thank you so much for your donation, said, at J, Rupus nigra, fracking by the L. What's your take? Okay, so Rupus nigra, or negra, means black rock, basically, right? That's the black rock at the middle. When we looked at those maps, we saw the black rock. Here, I'll pull it up again. There we go. Okay, so let me make that a tad bit bigger for everybody. We're going to focus on the middle here. Polus Arcticus, or Rupus Negra, which means black rock, right? This is the magnetic mountain. Now, I'm developing different ideas. I'm developing different theories, and I encourage all of you to do the same if you're interested in this type of stuff, right? But if it's true that all of that energy, all of that plasma shoots right back up into the sky at this particular location, it would make sense to me that it would start to form sort of a conical shape, or, there would be a volcano. Basically, it's a volcano that shoots out plasma from time to time, and it's magnetic because when you try to magnetically charge something, all you need is like friction, basically. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing at things I remember from the past. All right. But you take electricity and you rub it against an object, right? Don't quote me on this, okay? Because I'm rushing my brain right now. But basically, it magnetizes it. Okay. So every time this plasma event happens, and all of that light, if you will, shoots up through, all that energy shoots up through and rubs up against the inner earth, it magnetizes it. And that's why all of our compasses point to the middle, And that's the black rock. That's the North Pole. That's also why we have this imagery of people jumping into volcanoes, right? They always want to have someone sacrifice themselves into a volcano, like usually a woman, or usually a virgin, or a young maiden, or a child, or something. They want them going into the volcano. That has truth to it, right? I'm not advocating any of that, but I am saying there is a story, there is a legend to this that rings true. Okay, there's a moral behind it. There's something energetic. There's an energetic principle behind this idea of Joe versus the volcano. Someone having to jump into the volcano to save everybody. Somebody having to hang themselves upon the world tree, or the tree of the world, Yggdrasil, in order to save the world, right? I'm going to stop with that particular line of thought because I want you guys to look into that idea, if you would like to. All right, back in the chat. Where was I? Semyaza says, even your digression is informative. Good, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. J-Star Peace says, JayDreamerZ, it's called This Is the Music That Heals Your Soul. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to highlight that right now. I'm going to highlight your whole comment. Every time the chat moves, it gets rid of my highlight. Okay, hold on. All right, copy. Let me paste this into my personal notes here. Where are they? I'm going to create a brand new sticky note. I got sticky notes all over the computer right now. I'm going to create a brand new sticky note just for you. And I put it right there to remind myself. So I will check that out. Thank you. J-Star P says, JayDreamerZ, have you looked into Dan Winter and his work? I have not. I've never heard of Dan Winter. Okay, so cool. Let's see. I think. Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's some more. Were there tree portals? Rue I Am Groot says, were there tree portals? Yes. This specifically is the tree portal. I don't know if a physical tree has a portal in it. Could be. But I'm more confident about the plasma portal that shoots up into the sky, and that is the tree of the world, that is a portal. And that's why people are depicted as going into trees, hiding in trees as they wait out the apocalypse. Even in, what was it? The Dark Crystal, right? Remember one of those little puppets? I forgot their names. I'm rewatching the series right now, so I'm relearning a lot. But remember those little humanoid puppets at the beginning? They put the girl into a tree to keep her safe from those giant Phanazoid beetle-looking things, right? And she was hiding in the tree. She was kept safe in the tree. It's always talking about like hiding out in the tree of the world in order to survive, basically. That's why all these movies are saying, go north. We're going north. Where's the safe haven? It's up north. You know what I mean? Like, it's always up north. That's what they're telling you about. It's an ancient story that's just being retold. Good question, Rue. Semyaza says, World Tree, the portal highway to other 8 realms. Exactly. That's what it is. The World Tree leads you to the other realms, right? The Norse Yggdrasil depiction, Yggdrasil, Yggdrasil, is a depiction of this tree portal that takes you into other realms, right? Other parallel worlds, like we were talking about when I broke down into the Spider-Verse. AM1, new member says, JayDreamerZ, yes, what does the whole world rest on? Oh, okay, cool. If open space is this big white pearlescent void, I wouldn't say it's a void. I would stay away from the emptiness of space. That's just my recommendation. It helps if you start to look at space as being full instead of empty. But let me continue reading. Where do we actually sit relative to this space? Tricky question. Well, it could be tricky. To me, it's not tricky at all. We sit within all of it, within all of the rest of it. We are connected. That's like saying, where's the bottom of my fingertip? Right? Like, if this is our world right here, where's the bottom of it? Well, it just continues on and it touches my other fingertips, right? It's the same concept, basically. So yeah, it circles around. It goes all over the place. There are caverns. There are tunnels. There are entrances. There are connections from one world to another all over the place. You can go down to get to them, or you can go up through the vortex in the sky. That is just a theory. The whole going down to get to them, that's a theory, okay? Actually, this is all a theory, so who cares, right? It's all a theory. But I believe it's probably easier to traverse, to get from one realm to another, to just simply go up and to just take the circuits of time, if you want to call it that, to the other places. It sounds easier to me. I don't know. I haven't looked into going down in order to get to those places because I haven't found as much information about it. But one thing I don't believe is that we are independent, that we are cut off and severed from all of the other realms, all of the other people, all of the other beings. I don't think so. I have a sneaking suspicion we're all connected in more ways than one. Good question. Great question. Let's see here. Oh, that's right. Cloven asked, fracking by the L. What is my take? I'm not sure. If you're talking about like fracking, like how businesses do fracking and they go and they expand the ground inside of the underground in order to get like oil or whatever out of it. I'm against that. I'm always against trying to mess up nature and the way that things are, right? I believe that there's plenty of stuff if we work with nature instead of trying to destroy it. There's plenty of energy. There's plenty of stuff for us to use, and we may have a symbiotic relationship if that's the type of fracking you're talking about. If you're talking about terraforming the world, the plasma itself will do much of the terraforming, and then later on, whenever we end up having titans again, they're also going to add to the terraforming of the world. Good question, Cloven. And thanks for watching, by the way. Semyaza says, JayDreamer. Oh, I already read that. All right, let me get back down. J-Star Peace says I should check out Dan Winter if I get a chance. He has a lot of degrees and talks about plasma and biofeedback. Okay, cool. He's been doing research on it for like over 20 years. Good. Okay. That is helpful. Dan Winter. I'll go ahead and highlight that one too. I might check that out. I don't check out everything that people recommend. Okay. I want to be transparent. I don't. I just don't have time. There's not enough time in the day to check out everything that everybody throws my way. So the more simplified you guys make it and the more enticing you make it, the more likely I am to check it out. I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? So leaving links in the chat or, like, I don't really read the comments anymore or whatever. If you email me, if you have my email address, and you give me like a smart, like a real short description, you gotta kind of like give me a little to go off of, you know what I mean? When you guys, and I'm not talking specifically to JStar, I'm talking to everybody, right? Because time in my day is getting smaller and smaller and smaller the more work I do. And I'm doing a lot of work these days. So I just want to throw that out there. Help me out. Make it easy on me, please. AM1 says, thanks for the breakdown, JayDreamerZ. Could the layout be like a vast field of dome enclosures? Think a sheet of bubble wrap. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that could be a possibility. It could be a layout of dome enclosures, a layout of other little modules that all have their individual areas or whatnot. It could be. We don't have to be a single flower or a single stem. We could be attached to other places. So that's a good catch right there. Whew, man. All right, that was a lot. That was a lot of talking. So, let me just make sure I didn't have anything else I wanted to share with everyone because I think it's a good time to wrap things up. Let's see here. Let's get rid of that for now. Boom. Okay, cool. So we got rid of that. Oh, you know what? The last thing I want to do is I just want to check the super chats. I do want to go over those one more time because I do appreciate all of the support and all of the members joining as well. So let me go over these super chats here. First off, Gato Negro, aka just Negro, or Gato, I'm sorry. Gato is a new member, and I want to say welcome. I'm glad that we were able to email each other and get everything figured out. I appreciate having you here. It's good to see you. Anthony, and let me know, you should be able to chat and everything too, so let me know it's working. I want to thank Anthony Redner for your donation. Linda Curtis for your donation. She says, looks like 4 chambers of the brain. She's catching on to the fractal imagery, how everything reflects everything else. Jesus knew that because he said, consider the lilies of the field, right? He's comparing people to lilies. He can see the fractal connection or the holographic connection. I want to thank Rue I Am Groot, who donated and said, thank you, Jay, and everyone. I appreciate what I learned from you all. I'm glad that you thank everybody else, Rue, because that's why I love the chat. That's why I love the Good Vibe Tribe. Everyone in the chat is adding to the presentation, and so I'm happy and honored to have you all here. Linda Curtis says the 5th element is love of yourself. She hit that right on the bullseye, literally and figuratively. Sherry V is in the chat. I don't know if I had said hello to Sherry V. I didn't see you did I read a comment from you? Well, regardless, hello. I'm glad to see you. And I do like your name too. Matthias Miriete, he put a little sticker. I didn't see the sticker. He says, how's it going? He's got a little pear. And he donated 50 ARS. I don't know what that is, but hey, whatever it is, I thank you for it. I don't know how that all those different monies, like how they equate to dollars or whatever, but I don't care. 1 penny, I want to say thank you. I appreciate it. Dustin Arrow is a new member. Welcome everybody, Dustin Arrow. AM1, also a new member. Welcome AM1. And last but not least, we have Cloven E, who donated and said, Rupus Negra, what are my thoughts on the fracking by the L? And by the L, he's talking about the El, or the Elohim, or the strong leaders, the mighty leaders, as it is written in picture form. Actually, let me go ahead and just leave off with that. Let's jump over to camera 2 one last time here. Let's get rid of this crazy drawing of the world. All right. Now, L used to be drawn as this. That is an ox, which means strength. We still have a saying today, strong as an ox, right? Okay. And then a staff. Pretty simple. Staff, however people draw staff. I don't know how people draw a staff, but it's a staff over time, a shepherd's staff, etc., right? This is leader. There we go. Now, over time, these pictures became more and more shorthand as people people had more and more to write. And so they wanted to write and convey those things quicker and quicker. So we developed shorthand, right? So the ox just became the head of the ox, right? Or they would just draw like that to make it even easier, because that's super easy to do. It only takes 2 lines to do that. That is the ox, right? Now, over time, instead of it being circular, our writing became more and more pointy and straight lines. So it was more like this. Boom. Ox head. See that? Ears, horns, face. Ox head. Over time, people started drawing at different angles. Okay? This is actually like Phoenician version right here. And then today we have the letter A. Okay? A, alpha, ox, and so on and so forth. This is also the E of the word L, okay? It's actually pronounced ale, like something like wine, ale, okay? So we have the ox head, or the A. And the L. Well, the staff, obviously you flip that around over time. And it became the L, basically. Okay, so this is the word L. Some people pronounce it L, and it sounds like this. Some people pronounce it like this. Ale. That's literally how it's supposed to be pronounced. And it means strong leader. The El, the Ilu. Those who are of the El are the Ilu, or the Elohim, the Elohim, many of the El, or the Al, or the Alva. Instead of Ilu, Alva. It is the Alf, the Elves, the Elven race, the Allah, the Allah, the God, it goes on and on and on. That's who he's talking about, okay? The bipedal phantazoids from another place in the Fractal verse. That's how I like to refer to them. Oh, hey, it's got a last second donation here by Semyaza. Let me read this. He says, for research and for my birthday. Hey, that's really cool. I really appreciate that. Thank you. You know what? I did not celebrate my birthdays a lot growing up because I felt like it was selfish. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I didn't like birthday parties, any of that stuff. Like, I didn't like the spotlight drawn on me or whatever. Like, it felt weird. But over time, I have learned to love myself. And so I like celebrating from time to time and just say, hey, man, proud of you, man. You are alive. You know, your life. You have life inside of you, and that life is growing like a tree. So I appreciate the early birthday present, Semyaza. I'm going to go now. Oh my God. He did another one for Delilah. I got to go. Before it gets crazy. Hey, check that out. I put the GIF. I tried to make all the GIFs related to the topic, so they all have like a baby blue white light. You know what I mean? And people getting sucked up and stuff. Hey, thank you so very much. You know what? I'm just going to say happy birthday to me. Okay, I'm turning into an old man, apparently, which is also very appropriate that I wore the suspenders, or these are actually overalls. I like to rock overalls every once in a while. But yes, I am turning 40, if you could believe that. I don't know if you can believe that, but yes, I'm turning 40 Saturday, or I don't know if it'll be Saturday. Possibly. But either way, Jenny is going to take me out. We'll probably have a dinner or something, and we're going to go see It Part 2, which I'm really excited to share with everybody. All right, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great rest of your night. Stick around, hang out, and jam out to this awesome, open-minded, woke music if you want to. And check out all the people who help to make videos like this possible. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.